This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
What a goal! It's absolutely world class from Marcus Tunde!
Johnson puts it in the air. Aidan Flynn wins the goal! It's still with Lee Gregory. He's in the box. Tries to screw it. Is it going to be there? Yes! Oh my word!
The Wednesday Week. Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week. Yesterday, Sheffield Wednesday played Hull City at home to register yet another win at home in the league. Something that seemed, a million miles away 2-3 months ago, as we'll get into. We have now gone to third from bottom and only 3 points off of survival. And I must admit, I think we're going to do it. It's going to happen. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So if you do want to get involved, get yourself some comments in, and we'll see if we can. Get involved at some point this evening. Joining me tonight, I've got Stevie, John, and former child turned current pundit Blair Hardman.
Blair Hardman.
There he is. All right, then. So then let's get into it. So let's talk about the starting lineup, John. I've got it ready as a banner. I've got things to press here. So people at home, you're going to witness a lot of things going wrong because I'm doing all the buttons tonight. So that's going to be a right mess. John, looking at that lineup, I mean, how did you feel about it when we started out?
Yeah, I've always wanted to see what it was going to be like when we actually, was able to deploy Masaba and Gasama on the wing. So I was pretty excited to see that. Obviously, some enforced changes with the red cards to Diaby and Georgie Byers. So we obviously had some enforced changes there, and pushing Palmer back into midfield, which was a position he's not played in a good few years, since he was made into a right back. So I thought Palmer's got experience. He's played there before. I'm sure he will slot in well at the side of Bannon. I thought the lineup, to be honest, was about as good as he could have put out, really, given the amount of injuries we've got, coupled with the suspension. So and obviously Cad's the lone striker again. Obviously, he's now number one striker, isn't he? He's in front of Smith, he's in front of Gregory. He's the future, so there's no surprises anymore when you see Cads as the starting striker, isn't he? So about as good as he could have put out, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of players there who've had a bit of a upturning fortunes in terms of how they play on the pitch. Now, Blair, you had a lot to say just off air just now about the lineup, and there was also rumours of Cadamarteri. I've just had a comment there that's just absolutely thrown me. It just sort of says there, Crime Watch 2024 has started well, which I really enjoyed. Now, Cadamarteri, there were rumours of him carrying a hamstring injury. Still ran his blood to water the first half. Ashley Fletcher came on for him at half-time, who I think has become a bit of a different player under Danny Rule, but I'm sure we'll get to that at some point. But any concerns over the starting lineup? I mean, Stevie's going to have loads to say about Palmer in midfield. Blair's on mute, ladies and gents, so we'll get back to that at some point going forward.
Sorry, computer.
It's a good job one of us works in IT to get that sorted out, Blair.
No, Blair, what's your job?
Computer man. There he is.
Yeah, he went out. His lineup was all out attack. I mean, maybe forced to go out, to go all out attack because of what he had available. But it almost might have been he really did target Hull City, and he went for him, didn't he? And we saw it from the get-go. They played some insane football. Cadamarteri again. Well, he saw his tweet, didn't he, at his dad's house, but he had a masseuse at his dad's house, and he was like, he was stiff after Preston. And it was a quick turnaround. He did run his blood to water again. That's why he'll just get forever. If you just do it, if any player does that for Sheffield Wednesday, they get cheered. That's just what we like to see as Yorkshiremen.
As Yorkshiremen, I tell you one thing I've seen from Yorkshiremen and from a lot of Geordies in Amsterdam. was the same jokes about Stiff and Masseuse being mentioned in the same sentence. But I have grown, you see. I didn't bring it up and make any knob gags about that. I did really well.
I did say to Geezer ones I was online. I went, Cadamarchi is the only player we've got who can hit it first time, and for it to go on target. And then he absolutely shanks one about it.
I think you'll find, Stevie, that I did call it early doors that Gasama was going to score today. I felt like the first 10 minutes he was absolutely tearing at him, and I'm absolutely chuffed for the geezer. I think he's I think he's got something, that kid. I think he's going to be a great player. But go on, you can talk for 10 minutes about Liam Palmer in the middle of the park.
No, mate. We'll get into it bit by bit, but I think the side picked itself, didn't it? Largely, I think I mentioned it's only a couple of days since we were last on, weren't it? And I think I mentioned Saturday night that it was probably something that he may look at doing in terms of putting Palmer in there. But the back four picked itself, and I didn't see him playing a back three because of putting Palmer in there, and I don't think he trusts him at centre half, and probably at Championship level, rightly so. But it was no complaints when it came out. I think at the minute he's got enough in the bank, as Danny Rule, with whatever side he puts out there, for us to say, yeah, we've got to put faith in what he's picked, and for whatever reason he's turning some real sort of abject players that we thought were abject anyway into some into decent lads, and I think we set up well. Gasama looks like a different player over the last sort of 2-3 games to where he was sort of August, September time coming in. He looked lightweight. He looked like he'd get nudged off the ball. He looked like he was running down blind alleys. I think certainly last night, and Preston in particular, I thought he played particularly well. Ran himself around, put himself about, ran himself into the ground, and he just looks strong. The little bits that you see, the ball popped into his feet. Whereas, as I said, in September, October time, he might have been sort of bumped off the ball. He's getting his arse in. He's pulling the ball in. He's stepping across defenders and getting himself a little bit of space so he can either pick a pass or get a running. I thought the goal last night was absolutely sublime, and I know I'm probably jumping in a little bit, get to it, but it was just endemic of him as a player, and I think he got man of the match on the pitch in the stadium. I think Marvin Johnson got man of the match, didn't he, on Sky? I think you could toss it between the two of them, to be fair. I'd had no argument when Gasama got announced. I thought he was outstanding last night.
He's 19.
Yeah, I forget how young he is, actually. So we've had a comment there saying Gasman's the gas man. I do enjoy that. It always reminds me of that episode of Bottom, where they keep stabbing him in the junk with the fork. I don't know why, but the gas man has been brilliant the last few games. The only thing we need from him is to release the ball sometimes, and that's a comment I'd actually agree with, Scott. There was a point when we were playing under Chisco and we were playing under Darren Moore where the ball goes down, we hit the byline and we cross it in. And I must admit, watching Johnson's crossing, he's brilliant at it. Yeah, he's very good. And but what Gasama seems to do is got this thing where he hits the byline and then comes across to try and hit somebody on the edge of the 6-yard box. And it must be something that Rule's been working with him, because again, like Fletcher, he's been a different player. And I'm sure we'll talk about Ashley Fletcher at some point. This one from the interwedge. Best decision ever by Chansiri not to offer Darren Moore a long-term contract with bigger money. Darren Moore's keeping us up by proxy. So we'll see how that goes.
I saw something similar. Chansiri not loaning out Marvin Johnson. He's like 4 steps ahead of everyone.
And then we've got one here. Big shout out to Icky as well. He's had 2 solid games there. Really has. And again, I'm going to echo it once again. I think he's one of the best defenders we've got. However, Stevie, we talked at the early part of the season that Dominic Iorfa was our best centre back. We seemed to get we had a look back, didn't we? We had a glimpse, didn't we, of Iorfa returning back to his best. Yeah. And then it seems to have fallen away again, doesn't he?
I mean, he's out at the moment, so that's enforced. But I think if you're talking about that centre half position, he seems more suited to the right back, doesn't he? Whether that be right back, right wing back, it seems to be that Danny Rule wants to play him out there and get him, with grass in front of him and get him to open up. So I think to go back to the Ihekwe situation, I think Ihekwe has been patient, and we mentioned it the other night on Saturday's show. He's giving Danny Rule a headache because Diaby's going to come back in, and Diaby's been the most used player that we've got. For me, Bernard is undroppable. He's the man. You know, if we're going to play three at the back, I'd be guessing it'd be Bernard, probably for Maywell, and I'll say it for Maywell because he's more left-sided, and I think he's probably one of the unsung heroes. He gets a lot of grief, and I think that's in part because of the Reece James situation, the Marvin Johnson stuff, people being negative towards certain players not being involved, kind of point the finger at Maywell and go, "You're in." Against one of my favourite players, which means that you're going to be a bit of a scapegoat. And I think it's been quite unfair, to be fair. He hasn't made as many mistakes as people make out that he might have done. If we play a three and everybody's fit, I think it's probably going to be Bernard, for Maywell, Ior for maybe. But I've no arguments at all. I think Ehekwe's been absolutely outstanding the last two games. He's bided his time. Diaby's gone out. And I think on Saturday, I think Diaby's eligible to come back in, whether or not he does, because it's a cup game. There's certainly some headaches to be had around the Southampton team selection, isn't there?
It's strange because
it's a nice one to have, isn't it?
It's strange.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Our set of defenders we've got as a collective, they all complement each other and they're all massive. It's like they're all up pace, they're all big, some can pass, some are heading. It's a brilliant set of lads, and it's weird to say that because we are set third bottom. But I think as a group of defenders, you couldn't ask for much more in the attributes they've got. Really.
It does make you wonder because Rules managed to get a tune out of what we described on this show not 2 months ago as dog shit signings. Yeah. Absolute liability. And like we've had a comment here from regular poster Slappy Gilmore. I don't know about
friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show. I don't know about you, but Danny Rule's filling me with some great bloody confidence in terms of first 11s and formation. Just seems to be improving each player week by week. Incredible. And then puts a little kiss on the end. So I'm not unhappy with that. And Wickerman's dead happy at catching us live. Now, I tell you what, Scott, I've got your question now. I'm going to put a pin in that for later on because I think we're going to talk about that in a bit. But, John, just before the red card, now, it was a big talking incident. I mean, by all means, get involved in the red card if you want. But I really want to pull apart on how well we played before that. I genuinely thought there was a bit before that red card where I thought, we're battering these. Did you agree?
100%, yeah. 11v11, we were the better side. We were knocking it about lovely. We were getting down their wings consistently. We were posing a threat through Masaba and Gasama. We were linking well with each other, actually finding each other with diagonal cross balls as well. And we were posing a real threat down the wings. And as we mentioned before, Marvin Johnson was involved as well. I mean, how the hell did Cisco drop him? I mean, come on. I mean, the guy's the best crosser of the ball by an absolute country mile.
Absolute country mile. Like, and when he gets the ball down that left-hand side, I'm actually excited. I'm like, oh, God, who's going to get on the end of this one then?
Yeah, he's playing better now than he's ever done.
Yeah.
And again, he's probably, it can relate to Danny Rule. He wants to play for him. They all want to play for him. They buy into. They're talking about coaching that like they've never talked about coaching before. Stuff that they've seen that they've not seen before, and so it's just absolutely madness that he wasn't involved under Cisco. But obviously, Danny knows a player, doesn't he? And Danny knows what Marvin Johnson can bring to the team, and he showed that. But yeah, definitely to go back to the 11v11, Dan. Yeah, I think we'd have won that game 11v11 anyway. I thought we were the better side.
Yeah, we had some decent opportunities. We were going in. Blair, what did you make of that sending off? I mean, sorry, there's a comment there by Liam there. Better side 11v11 by some distance. I think everybody that is a sentiment that a lot of people agree with, John. To be fair, but Blair, I mean, the incident itself. When I first saw it, I thought that's soft. And then did you watch it back?
Yeah, I mean, I watched it back. You know what my seat's like. It's for that side of the pitch, you don't see anything. When I saw it back. It's one of them things with benefit of a few angles. When I first saw it, I thought it is harsh. I thought it was a 50-50. They've both got him for it. He's caught him. But I don't think he was reckless. I don't think it was too bad. If Wednesday got the red card for it, I'm still annoyed about the Reece James getting sent off at Peterborough last season, and his foot was a lot higher than that one.
So, ladies and gents, if you've just joined us, that's Blair talking about games that are in the past, even though we reviewed them months ago. That's a thing that he does, so stay with us. But yeah,
I saw the tweet of the ref view. Sorry, Fudge. I saw the tweet of the ref's view, and it does look like a red from that view. And
Yeah,
the ref
he
can only
goes
the ref
straight
can go
over the
VAR
ball.
in this league, has he? So he can only go through what he saw.
Yeah, benefit of retrospect, which is always, a great one, because we've all got that. I actually went, oh, that's soft. I think I banged a tweet out saying that's dead soft. And then I think it was Joe Cram put the rest view up, and I went, that looks bloody awful.
Do you not think sometimes, though, especially when they use replay and they slow everything down, it always looks worse, doesn't
100%.
it? It's like,
oh yeah,
when you slow things down, it goes from a yellow to looking like a straight red, doesn't it? And it's like, I don't know. You can look at 3 different angles of that tackle, and you can come to a different decision every time. It's just a weird one, isn't it? But
And if one team could give you a bit of luck, it's us.
Absolutely.
We've had no luck this season.
I don't know. I think there's a few last-minute goals that we've scored where I think some of the other teams might disagree with you on that one, Blair. Stevie, let's move on then. Let's get to the goal. Went into half-time. I mean, right. So half-time, I felt comfortable. I felt, we'll see this out. I must admit, I don't think I've felt like that in a long time. That we've got to the break, and I've gone, we're going to batter these. We're going to absolutely smash the back doors out of this lot. And then we played for a bit, and then Neymarvinho. Did you jump off the settee like I did and shout penalty? Or did you jump out the seat?
I wasn't on the settee. Everything happened so quick. And I'll tell you what the thing was with me. And honestly, this isn't actually the incident. About 20 seconds before we had possession of the ball. And I'd heard a couple of people moaning behind me about Liam Palmer. And if you watch the replay...
And he tore your shirt off.
Mate, what happens in the build-up is that Palmer's got the ball and he's done a little bit in the build-up to it and he's done all right. And then he gets the ball and he's gone to ping it out left. And the ball gets intercepted. And you can listen back to the commentary. Excellent ball by Palmer. He's going to get it out there and it drops. And everybody around me started moaning, get him up here, he shouldn't be playing, blah, blah, blah. So me being me, I'm internalising this hatred that everybody's got for Liam Palmer, going, stop picking on my friend Liam. And before you know it, I've turned around, somebody shouted penalty, and Marvin Johnson stuck it in the roof of the net. But if you look back, honestly, other than there just wasn't enough pace on the ball, there wasn't enough power in Palmer's pass, but the build up to the ball, to the goal, before the penalty itself was absolutely sublime. It was popping, 1 touch, 2 touch, round the corners, triangle play. And let's be right, as an overall, we're talking about a team that would have been in the playoffs if they'd have won, I believe. They're right up there, and they aren't a bad side. And we made them look poor with 11. We made them look even worse with 10. And I just think we deserve a lot of credit for it, for the bits that we did last night. The goal itself, once we got it into the area and Fletcher had the opportunity. I don't know if it's a penalty or not. My natural instinct would have been to shout, yeah, it's a penalty, but it all becomes irrelevant, doesn't it? Because the way that Marvin Johnson has just smashed the ball into the roof of the net, you can argue whether it's a penalty or not. Who cares?
If I'm talking about that penalty shout that we had, and let's say we had VAR, and it got reviewed, I would be sat there. Let's say it took 3 minutes to review. I would be sat there thinking, they're not going to give this. They're not going to give this. It looks like he made a meal of it. They're not going to give it. And I genuinely am, like the 66 World Cup where Martin Peters just doesn't knock it in. And you're like, pal, why don't you just knock it in? Yeah. Marvin did that. You know what I mean? He actually went, no, I'm not having this. I'm not leaving this to chance. Bosh. And he's absolutely give it the beans on toast. The last time I've seen somebody smash a ball that hard was David Beckham against Argentina in 2002 World Cup. He's just gone, fuck off. This is just it. You know what I mean? One of them.
Yeah, the other thing to mention, though, is we've set up last night with Marvin Johnson as a left back. And the way that we're playing at the minute, he's playing left wing. And it's almost like we've got these false fullbacks at the moment. And this is more, again, it's a testament to the way that this manager has got our boys playing. Is that we've got, whether it be Palmer or Bannon, who sat a little bit deeper, I think, last night, allowing our centre-halves and then the two wing fullbacks to effectively be overlapping and getting right up the pitch, because Johnson had a lot of the ball on the left wing rather than playing in that left-back pocket. And I think of the two of them, I think he was the better one. Obviously, we've talked about him potentially being the man of the match. I just think that's a role that's set for him. And I think, we'd be lauding him a lot more if, we were further up the league. People would be looking at him externally, would be looking at him going, this guy's a hell of a player. If he was 5 years younger and we were 10 places higher, there'd be a lot of noise being made about Marvin Johnson.
Well, I'm sure we're going to talk about people trying to poach possessions of ours in terms of manager at some point. I reckon that's going to come. But I'm just going to flick it back over the internet before I go around again. Great podcast, fellows. You're making a long night shift bearable. We believe with the work ethic and mindset Danny and his staff have passed on to the players, and we're staying up. Joe's absolutely convinced we're staying up. And then you've got a fan here. Liam Henderson comes on with 100%, Stevie. We overload opponents and give them so many problems. There is definitely an identity in the way we play right now, and it's so different. And once again, I'm going to ask on this show for the 10,000th time, what was Cisco's plan? What was we use that term Cisco ball for 13 games, and I can't tell you what Cisco ball was. I don't know what it was.
He's not doing very well in Slovakia, wherever he is now.
Is he not? Have you been keeping up on that? Have you?
Yeah, 1-1, drawn 2, lost 1. So.
Well, that's because he's absolutely talentless. Now, John, let's talk about Gasama then. Let's get a bit more into it. And Gasama's goal and celebration. We don't normally see any of them at Hills, but that was fun to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great. It was positive all night, wasn't it? Young player, come from that academy, so he's obviously been around players that want to express themselves, and he's come to Hillsborough and he wants to do that. It's not worked initially early doors, like we were saying before. He's been knocked off the ball early doors when he first got some game time, but now he's starting to learn from that. He started to cut inside a lot and drive at players, which defenders hate, as we all know. So he receives the ball on that left hand side. He cuts in, and that was like. I'm almost like remiss to say it was finesse, because it had a lot of power in it, didn't it? But it was just an absolute missile, wasn't it, into the bottom corner off killed it right into the corner there, and beautiful goal. Does the Ronaldo celebration, and that's the second goal, and even though they're down to 10 men, you want, it's only 1-0. You never know what could happen. So to get that second goal calms everybody down and validates the play that we've been doing with that second goal as well. Really pleased for him, and a very promising evening from him all round. I thought it was absolutely tremendous.
Yeah, he was a thorn in their arse the entire time, wasn't he? I tell you what, there was a really fun bit actually where he did the shoo celebration, and you hear the cop and the South Stand go shoo all the way back, but because I don't know whether it's our Yorkshire accent or what, it just sounded like we were booing. And it did like to sound like, oh God, he's scored it. And like there was a point where I remember West Ham used to have a player called Samasi Abu, and when he scored, they all went Abu, and he handed a transfer request in because he thought the fans were booing him, and someone had to explain to him, no, pal, they're actually chanting your name. I hope we don't get that, because that's just a ridiculous problem to have. We've had a comment here from Nat saying the front three excites me with Masaba, Cads, and Gasaman, who's he's got a different nickname every comment now as the Gasman, and Gasman's a young Jermaine Johnson. Yeah, and that's that. Do you know what? That was nearly the name of the show tonight. The Gasman cometh. Now I tell you what it is, Blair. Right, so there's a few things in terms of Gasama and Masaba, not Masaba, Kadamatri. These are kids. These are young players.
Yeah.
And the confidence that they play with, dare I say, it's right up there in terms of like, savage 17-year-old Wayne Rooney, where he just played like it was just kids on the park. These two are playing like they've been playing for 20 years, man.
Yeah, they're absolutely relishing the opportunity they're getting to play in front of we're getting them north of 25,000 a game, aren't we? But 18-year-old, 19-year-old, even if it is a stepping stone, and it probably will be. And if we're going to make a lot of money off them, then yes, please, because we've been stung by them financial fair play rules so badly. I mean, look at Alex Scott went from Bristol City to Bournemouth for 25 million quid. So let's just hope we get some of that after they've got us into the playoffs or up there anyway and consolidate us in the Championship.
Yeah, there's a point I'd rather have the player than the money right now. You know what I mean?
I mean, Gasama, he needs to release it earlier. I mean, he's got that young, like you said, that young kid energy in him. He just wants to hold onto the ball and take everyone on at all times and just keep twisting and turning. And he kept getting kicked and he kept getting people booked. And, that's a brilliant asset to have. And Once our set players get better, because do we ever score from a corner or a free kick? I don't know, but he's going to be in a lot of dangerous free kicks and dangerous positions because of his skill. It was frustrating their backline no end. So I think Scott Swan getting pissed off him, and he was on for like 15 minutes. He was just brilliant, and it's just so exciting. And the one thing on the lineup, last season we had like the oldest squad in the league, and now the average age, because them two are in the teens, it has come well down, which is exciting as well.
Yeah, very much so. I'm just looking at a few comments here as you were talking there, Blair. We've got young players and young manager. I bet it's weird being a manager and you being younger than some of the players. I bet that's quite odd. And then Slappy's been on. He said Gasama, as we've gone with this one time, and Masaba sort of shades of Di Canio and Caponi. No, they refused to pass the ball to Andy Booth. I just don't Gasama, we've gone with this time. And Big Tony can pass it to Cadamatri. So, there is an element of that. There's an element of when they get it, there's an excitement. And I must admit, I still have that excitement when Johnson when he gets a bit of space and you know where that ball's going to go and it's going to cause someone some issues. And then Lord H has been on. He says, anyone else have squeaky bum time until the final whistle blew, or did you feel comfortable of the 3 points in the last 10 minutes? I tell you what, Lord H, we'll get there in a minute, but we're still going to go through the goals now. Stevie, let's talk about Josh Ello, the Josh Meister General. He sometimes spends a bit of time on the injured, doesn't he? You know what I mean? Like that, you see a few whines and a few moans about Josh, not being available to be picked because of his fitness. But and some people are like, get bloody shot at him. I think he's genuinely one of our biggest assets and has been for a while. And I feel like he gets tarred with that brush that sometimes Bannon gets. Whereas if it's not a high-end, solid performance, then people will start slagging him off, even though he's put in a 6.5 and that's the worst one he's done. I mean, there's a couple of games that stick out where he's not been great because, he, by his own admission, he didn't play very well in the playoff final. But, he's a useful bloody player for us, right? I mean, bridging that gap between the midfield and the striker, I think he does really well. What do you think?
No, I agree. I totally agree. I'm going to use an example of somebody that I'm going to preface it by saying that I don't think he's in the same league as this player. But we used to have a player called Chris Waddle who would drift in and out of games. Yeah, once upon a time. You might have heard of him.
No.
It's only 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But he'd drift in and out of games, and by his own admission, be really quiet, and his body language would be the type that if he wasn't getting the ball and he wasn't involved in things, people would tar him with a tag or a brush of being somewhat lazy. And I don't necessarily think he was lazy. It was just he's almost episodic. And I think Windass is kind of like that as well, in that he's not going to affect the game for 90 minutes, but when he gets the ball, he's going to do something more often than not. And I think that's something that the challenge with that is you've got to get a manager who's able to get the best out of him and get that work rate and effort. And I think we're starting to see that a little bit. The issue that we've got is that he doesn't have a run of games in him at the moment where he's playing for periods of time before he's out on the injured list. And I'd be surprised if he's played more than 6-7 games in a row. Somebody will obviously come out and correct me. Certainly all season, but he comes in and out, and it must be difficult for him to get that match fitness. It must be difficult for him to get that run, and you can see that when people get a run of games and start to get into it, they find the feet and they have a positive impact on what's happening. And I think he's very much that kind of player. If you were to ask anybody else, supporters of other clubs, and we do a lot of the preview shows, the Hello from the Other Side, if you get to a point where you ask the question, who's the person that you're most worried about, they'll either say Windass or they'll say Bannon at the moment. Do you know what I mean? So
I don't think anybody's going to sit there and talk about Jedi Gasama, which they should be, because he's mint now. Do you remember how he was rubbish? He's good now.
Yeah, but that time will inevitably come. Certainly after live TV games where he's smashed on him from 25 yards out or whatever it was, because the finish was outstanding. But for Windass, he's one of those where he's just, as I said before, he doesn't look, and again, this is not with the greatest respect, he doesn't look bothered because his shoulders are. And he walks around and he's got a face like a smacked arse, bless his heart. And but that's him. And he's made all that deal of I'm not going to celebrate in League One. He never smiles. He's just a character, and that's the kind of person that he is. I'd carry him in a 10 role, and I think if everybody's match fit, I'd argue that he probably gets into our starting 11 anyway. So it's not a conversation that we need to be having, really.
Yeah, I think you're right. But let's. I tell you what. Just before I come on to the goal, John, Steve, did anybody see Big Momo with the Zidane spin? Did anybody see that?
Yeah.
I
mean, because he's so big as well,
it
wasn't as elegant as a Zidane spin. It was just as effective, but obviously because he's a big unit, isn't he, Momo? But yeah, he's still got a job done. But yeah.
But what can you say to argue with this comment that's just come through here now? Like Xisco should have been a scout rather than a manager. You know what I mean? Because he signed some right players, regardless of what we were saying. 6 games in the season.
Won't have him as a Brown in here, man, a scout, man.
Now let's get to the goal. I mean, Stevie spoke very eloquent, like I'm doing right now. Spoke very eloquently there about Josh Windass. But I was a big fan of this goal. I thought it was technically beautiful. And then someone's put the videos together of his dad scoring at Hull against Bristol City in the final, and that one there. I'd still argue his dads were better. I don't mean it, Josh. I'm just trying to get you wound up because you play better when you've got the mug on, like on White Men Can't Jump. But elite reference that was. But I mean, run us through that goal, John.
Our first goal, even. Sorry.
No, Windass is.
Sorry, Windass. Beg your pardon. Yeah. Again, it was one of those. It came pretty quick, didn't it? After the Jerry Gasama goal, and it was just again. I'm sure it was Johnson with another quality ball into the box, which they were panicking about. Defender gets ahead on it, but it only just lifts it up behind him, and it's just dropping nicely, isn't it, for Windass? And he just technique was great, head over the ball, just puts enough on it. Try and take skin off it, but just puts enough on it, and it just keeper gets his fingers. I think he might have just got a fingertip to it, but he couldn't stop it going in. And technically brilliant finish that. And then we're all in party mode, aren't we? We know the game's up now for sure. We can celebrate. We can all start singing the not the tequila song, but the old Gasama song as well. That came ringing out again, didn't it, from all sides of the ground? So another new chant for us to get his teeth stuck into. Yeah, brilliant finish. And again, kudos to Marvin Johnson for those absolute quality sniper-esque fucking crosses that he's putting into their box, because that just causes panic in any defence, that when you put quality balls in like that. Drops the Windass. Lovely finish. Game over.
He's in some mega form right now. Is Marvin Johnson, and it's absolutely wonderful to see, given the way the start of the season went. Now, Blair, let's talk about the penalty decision first before we get into it. Now, there was an argument from our side that the striker pushed Ihekwe's arm.
It was never a pen.
Oh, it's controversial. That's not like us.
It was never a pen. Even my friend who was a Hull fan rang me in the car and said, referee were crap, but it was crap on both sides. It was never a pen event. It was handball, but that's only because he got shoved into it. And that's
it did seem weird because like John said earlier on about the replays making it look worse than what it is. There's a bit where they're kind of running, and then Ihekwe just, for no reason, just as this.
Yeah, like he's a fly.
For the benefit of the audio listener, I've just smashed up my living room, apparently.
Yeah,
just slapped the mannequin.
Smashing the TV
up. I've just dropped my Pop World duck.
By the way, 100% penalty.
Oh, I tell you what, discuss, Stevie, discuss, and I'll tell you what the comments are saying.
I don't think. I think it almost goes back to the he knew what he was doing Oxford penalty argument. And I'm loath to go there, but my initial thought wasn't, and when I've looked back and watched it again, there's a deliberate move of the arm. Whether or not he's got pushed, his arm. We talk about natural positions. It didn't look natural to me, but it's one of those. If it hadn't gone for us the other way, we'd have been upset about it. That's a fact. And if it had gone to VAR, I think the VAR would call it a pen.
You reckon? Well, we've got a couple here, Steve. We've got no pen for me. That's from Matt, and then Wickerman's gone with, I agree, penalty because of the weird arm swat that I just, perfectly recreated there.
It felt like there were two movements in his arm. It felt like that, and then he's gone like that.
And he's gone, well, he's
whether or not he knew what he was doing.
This.
Yeah, I almost wonder whether or not he's moved his arm, not intending to hit the ball, but to emphasise the fall to try and get the free kick. Does that make sense? So he's done that because he's felt it in his back. So I'm going to make a deliberate move to go forwards. And in doing that, he's accidentally caught the ball. And it was just a general bollock dropped. But thankfully, by that point, it was almost immaterial, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Now, Lord Hillsborough's just gone with smash lot up. I think he means my flat. So that's nice, isn't it? Danny Allen's gone with, I think it was a pen defo. And what I can assume is Ash on our socials, because we're all here, just saying, Blair's got other friends I call bullshit. So, you know what I mean? I can't... I'm only telling you what the internet's telling me.
Does that mean Ash is my friend? Does that... Because I find that questionable.
He's been absolutely teasing you for the Christ knows how long. Got it right then. So, what about you, John? What did you think about the penalty? Because I need you to have the deciding vote. These pair are going to come to blows.
It was just that bit, like we said, where his arm comes across like Thriller or something. It's like in Michael Jackson video, isn't it? His arm going like flicking round, and I'm like, what's happened there? Then is that just some sort of nudge, or has he just like had some sort of like, I don't know, weird reaction? And then obviously when it's hitting his hand and his arm's not by his side, that's when they're calling your arm not in a natural position, aren't they? So, but I think he probably had a word with fourth official, if you remember who that were at Hillsborough. Somebody by the name of Welsh, I think.
The one who gave the Oxford penalty.
But, yeah.
So let's not pull up that thread, because I'll get accused of all sorts, like I normally do on the internet. In fact, who's that absolute bellend that keeps trying to troll me? What's his name on Twitter? His handle is something like Freddy21864 or something, but his name's Jim. Got no profile picture. And what I did, I went through his replies on Twitter. Oh my God! Listen to me, Jim. Go for a walk. Get a chamomile tea. Sit down. Have 5 minutes. It's all right. You know what I mean? Like, if you need to talk, there's a website called BetterHelp. Get involved. You know what I mean? They've got therapists on 24/7. And I just need to ask you, just like Holly Willoughby, are you all right?
But thanks for watching, Jim.
Well, thanks for watching, Jim. Thanks for interacting.
It's okay to not be okay.
Right, so here we go. So this is what I get accused of on the internet here. Dunderbird's been on, and he's gone with just got here, but I'm willing to bet Fudge's on team was a pen and everybody else isn't. This is the shit I get for being on the internet. I'll just catch you up, Dunderbird.
You've got a picture of Adrian Durham in your bedroom, haven't you?
Yeah, isn't it? I'll just catch you up, Dunderbird. Stevie said it was a pen. And Blair said it wasn't, and then John just described what happened. So we've all got splinters on our ass right now.
Yeah.
We're all...
But I'm right.
I'd have said no.
And then to go full circle for what Lord Hillsborough said, when it went to 3-1, I did think, are we gonna Wednesday this up?
Yes. I don't know. I felt comfortable, and I felt comfortable for a while. Just on the back of Jim off Twitter, Sheffield Still 52 agrees with me. Jim does me head in. Does mine in. He does mine in. So just to give a background for those of you who are on X, what I did something like, what did I do? What channel was it? It was one of them Brexit telly programs. Talk TV, right? Did one of them. And I was on there, and I mentioned that there are a lot of foreign owners coming over, obviously mentioning and going down the route of they don't really understand British culture, and it takes them a while to bed in. He heard the word foreign owner and has accused me for being a racist now for 2 weeks. So, Stevie, if we can get a photo together when we're out.
I've been on the show every week since.
Yeah.
No coincidence.
And I'll be here next week as well.
Cheers, Steve. Thanks, man. Don't go anywhere. Just stay in that square next to me because Jim on the internet don't trust me. But John Duncan's been on, just before we move on. Best performance of the season so far, lads. Defo was for me. And you know what? I agree with you. That was, for me, the most comprehensive performance. Like, we've done a few smash and grabs against, like, Stoke and QPR and things like that. But that one felt comfortable.
But when you look at the level of position we played against, where we are in the table, it's got to be one of the best performances we've done. God, in that, we had 20 odd shots. We had more than 20 shots on goal, 20 efforts on goal. The only criticism we could say is that we only had 6 on target.
23 shots and 6 on target.
Yeah, it's such a shit ratio, really. I think at first half it was 10 with 1 on target, wasn't it? At half time.
But I think on that one, Blair, I honestly believe that plays into. They're on the screen now. That plays into the game plan. It plays into the strategy. We're going to get the ball forward. We're going to get forwards into positions, and we're going to play percentages. And I think we do that. And I think we, there's a reason that Marvin Johnson is now playing the kind of football that he's playing, and we're saying that he's getting loads and loads of balls into the box and he's doing well because that's the instruction. And if you want, you can almost go back a bit and go, let's look at Chisco ball. What was Chisco's plan? It was to sit and hit people on the counter, but we didn't have the people to do it, and we didn't sign the players to play that. And that's what was so frustrating. You go back to the Southampton game, right? They had 700 passes to our 300 or whatever ridiculous percentage ratio it was. I can remember that first game of the season. We didn't actually play that badly, but we just sat and we allowed them to play. And we said to teams, you're going to have the ball. We did it against Leeds. You're going to have the ball and you're going to have to try and break us down. Whereas here, we're going to sit, we're going to be disciplined. When we get the ball, we're going to go forwards. Gegenpress, isn't it? We're going to get the ball forwards within this certain number of seconds. We're going to get into these areas because the percentages say that if we get the ball into these areas and we do this, we're going to get elements of success. We will have, in these kind of games, 23 shots, and we might only have 6 on target, but that's because Kadamari is the one up top, and we're getting used to each other behind him. Kadamari runs his bollocks off. He's not going to be a 15, 20 goal player. He's not. He's had a bit of a streak, but the good thing about it is he's doing okay because he's got that youthful enthusiasm and he's running and he's closing, he's pressing goalkeepers down, he's trying to force errors at the top end of the pitch, and I think that's a really positive trait to have. And I also think that's why now we like the look of Fletcher a little bit more, because we're not getting Fletcher in the team to score goals. We're getting Fletcher in the team to get into dangerous positions.
Yes,
like that penalty situation. There's a couple of data analysts that are running pages on X that will turn around and say we like Fletcher because he's got these numbers. He runs this distance. He's got this yardage. He's much quicker than certain other players that can play up there, and that's forcing the likes of Gasama, Masaba, Windass, Bannon, whoever it may be, to come into the fold and be a little bit more, impactful and influential in the game situation. That's the guy. TW Football made the same point and has actually said that he'd keep Fletcher.
Yeah, I think there's an argument there to keep hold of him because he's playing a different role for us than what he was.
Well, I think it shows his attitude as well, but he's happy to do that job. There's most striker. He's not a starting centre. With due respect, he's not a starting centre forward. Ironically, I think he probably will start on Saturday just to give young lad a rest, and it's the FA Cup. But certainly for me, there's a role for him now that I didn't see, and I was one of his biggest critics. You take away the stink of the £5 million transfer fee, the fact that he's not scored any goals in however many years and throughout his career, whatever it may be. This is a guy that can be impactful for us because we're getting him playing in a certain way. And the byproduct of that is the level of performance that we're getting from the young lads around him.
Absolutely. Now, just a few comments from the interwebs here. Now, Scott said here, if you watched the match not knowing league positions, you'd have thought we were in the top six and Hull were relegation for it. Something I agree with completely. I thought they were very poor. And for what they call a local derby, that's pretty rubbish, to be fair. And then I don't know if any of you know that, but when sometimes Ash lets me log into Twitter now, you can really tell the difference when Ash is doing the Twitter and when I'm doing it, because Ash will put in some very respectful things. He'll ask how everybody's going. He'll ask what you all think about the football. Me, I put some terrible low quality memes.
Shagging Wednesday.
Just shout up the Shaggy Wednesday. And you'll notice last night it was me in charge of the Twitter, and just Steve just using the phrase there, Gengen press. I've just made a note for another low quality meme, and I've just written the word Gengen style. So we'll see what comes out of that. I don't know how that's going to manifest itself, but brace yourself there, kids. I've also and then Dunderberg's got back on. He's gone South Fudge, but after the Oxford penalty fiasco, your penalty opinions may as well be deemed in worship. Can't argue with that. John Duncan says, great shout on Fletcher. I felt he added a lot, looked a handful, and looking up to scored yet. I agree completely. I'm not going to chuck him out. German Al just loves the podcast, so they're my favourite. Whoever she is, a big fan of that. Now we've sent Buckley back, so 3 points in. We're third from bottom. All the rest of it, I've got to think of time here now. So we've sent Buckley back, having seen him like walking the pitch like none of us knew, and there he was at the Blackburn game, just in his gear. And someone's come in and said, how many players do we need in the window? Now I appreciate that's quite a big question there, lad. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to think about it. But we've got Nat there saying we need a left back, midfielder, and a striker. Cover for Johnson wouldn't be amiss, but I'm sure Stevie, being in the Liam Palmer fan club, will straight up fight a man. If we're signing players in the 6 positions that he can play. So go on, John. What do you reckon? I mean, is there any? I don't expect us to know all of the players that are available that we can get, but we should really talk about the players that we'd send back, but also the positions that we could do with some. You know what I mean? The positions we could do with some cover in. Also, yeah. Steve, his wife says hello, so that's nice, isn't it? So,
yeah, it's a question of want versus a question of need, isn't it? We might want, we might want 5, we might want 6, but we might only get 3.
Yeah.
In terms of like what I'd like to see, I would like another goalkeeper. I'm sorry, Cam. I'm not going to go down that road, but I would like.
Stitching me up on the internet here now, aren't you? You know what I mean? Here I am getting pelters all across the internet, and then when you lot start slagging off Dawson, I get pelters on the webs. But Danny agrees with you as well. Danny Allen says, "What about a keeper?" And then put a facetious laughing face on there.
Yeah. Definitely would like another keeper, even just to put a bit more pressure on Cam, because I believe that Vasquez will probably be recalled or sent back. Another left back would be nice as well. Definitely a striker. So I think they're the 3 most important for me right now. Mm-hmm. And obviously it would be intriguing to see what players come in on loan from what parts of the footballing world. But yeah, definitely would like to see those 3 and maybe more if we can, but we'll see. I'm sure the irons are in the fire as we speak.
Blair, we've been as John. Cheers, John. As John mentioned there, right? We've got to talk about the goalkeeper, so I'm going to let you guys do it. We've been heavily linked with. Is it Beadle from Brighton, who's on loan at Oxford, who's not been recalled yet?
I've got a friend who's an Oxford fan. He says he's very good. Another friend, Ash. He said he'd be gutted if he leaves. So
really, yeah. Well, what about you?
I don't know. I think we just need players who are far better than what we've got now. So I'd rather have quality over quantity.
Oh, really? So
so people are like saying online like they want like 8 or 12. I've seen people said 12. Who signs 12 players in January unless you're Chelsea or Nottingham Forest? I just think if you just got 3 quality players who are just better than what we've got, I think that would be enough. I think we definitely need a goal scorer and a keeper. We said it in the preview pod at the start of the season. Kadamachi's got his chance because we failed to keep strikers keep failing to score. He has done all right, but again, 18 years old, he's gonna take time to become a regular goal scorer in the championship, especially in the championship. It's a difficult league. So if you can get a proven goal scorer, brilliant. Even though that means nothing because Jordan Rhodes did fuck all. But we do need a goalkeeper because I think Vasquez is off because Pierce Charles was he was warming up Dawson before the game on again. He's done it more than once now, so I think Vasquez is just completely gone. I won't be surprised.
I think the AC Milan hierarchy might be a bit fed up with the way we've used Vasquez and probably gone, now we're having him back and probably send him somewhere else.
Yeah,
a lot of the internet agreeing that keeper is high on the list, but Nat's gone with let's do a Nottingham Forest and sign 100 players just to be sure. So I'm not against it. And we do have some breaking news here, ladies and gents, that players got other friends. So stay with us and we'll see how that pans out. Stevie, what about yourself?
The shagging friends.
Hang on. That means something else.
You've gone a bit wrong there.
Yeah.
It's difficult, isn't it? To anything other than what's been said. I'm going to be controversial. I agree largely. The striker's been the priority for the last 3 windows for me, and we've argued the case with Dawson that long now that you've got to look at a goalkeeper, and every time, bless his heart, he makes a mistake, he gets pelters, doesn't he? So a little bit of form here and there is okay, but he doesn't. We talked about it on Saturday. He doesn't give me the confidence that I think certain other players. And if we're talking about this Beadle potentially being somebody that we could go and do a bit of business with, then that'd be it. If not, we move on. The priority at the moment is trying to get the players that we've got, to go back to that quality over quantity. The players that we've got, if we can guarantee that we've got enough people covering certain areas, then that's absolutely fine as well. Fullback, I'd probably say fullback. I don't see Valentin being a great sort of asset going forwards. I think he does okay. I think he carries
terrible hair.
He carries the ball well, but I just think the last 2-3 games, he's not. You look at him versus Johnson, and I just think there's that, and I think Valentin can do bits, and I can understand, and I'll say it joking aside, I can understand why certain players are going to get in that back line instead of Palmer, and I'm going to argue that there's a place for Liam Palmer playing in the middle of the park at the moment, just because of the people that are missing out, and everybody's fit and firing and available. Does he get in? Probably not, because Volks has been outstanding. He's not going to play in front of Volks in terms of position on the pitch. And if Volks is our first choice holding midfielder, if you like, I think that causes a bit of a problem. But there's certainly an argument for him being in and around it. But for me, striker, goalkeeper, maybe fullback. Diaby will be like a new signing in the middle of the park. And we've got enough people in Pato, Masaba, Gasama, that can play in Windass that can play in those 2 of those 4 wide positions. So either end of the pitch for me.
Yeah, a lot of people online are saying striker and goalkeeper. I mean, when it comes to me digging out Dawson, to quote a phrase from Bad Boys, the first one, when the captain is playing basketball, and he goes, "What did I say?" I heard what I said because I was there when I said it. Come at me, bro. Dan Fudge was right. Old side. Come on now. Anybody want to stick up for me in the comments? Bring it on. I'm having you. But Dunderberg's been on, and he says, I'd like a brick shithouse centre-back who can pass, and a 25-year-old-ish striker. Not a bad shout. But then he also goes on to say the worry is our mad king of a chairman and what he's got in mind. So, we never know. I'm not buying anybody. It depends what mood he's in when he's woke up. Depends what side of the bed he gets out of. With update on Beadle, he's just signed a new contract till 2028. If we get another goalkeeper, it shouldn't be a short-term loan, should it? I don't know if we're in a position to start buying players again because Chisco signed so many and there's a lot of inflated contracts there and the squad space and all that. I think for a sensible move just to get us to the end of the season would be to get a loan in, right?
Yeah. If we can consolidate in the league now, realistically, we're not going to push for the playoffs. And the reason that I say that is that teams have done it. Forest did it. Middlesbrough have done it. Sunderland have done it. You can name 3 teams there, 4 teams that were bottom of the league or in positions similar to ours. We're not there, realistically. I think the top end of the championship now is just a little bit too high, isn't it, in terms of that top 4, 5, 6. I think we'd need to overturn something. I think it's 18 points. That's not going to happen. But if we can consolidate and get to the middle of the table and we've got somebody like a young goalkeeper with that profile coming in, then that's absolutely fine. Get to the end of the season, contracts are different kettle of fish, aren't they? And we're looking at that money that's coming in next season. That is another reason that we want to try and stay in the league. And let's just get to the end of this year and consolidate and see where we are for the next transfer window in the summer. And whatever means necessary to get us there is absolutely fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Funny you say that, but sorry, Dan. I was just going to say, just to piggyback off what Steve was saying there in terms of, we're having a bit of a laugh about the playoffs, but I know obviously it is out of range, we know that, but current form table has a 6th, which is actually playoff form, so we are actually in playoff form right now in a relegation battle, so that again is showing you what Danny Rule effect is having on us right now.
Yeah, we're not playing like a team in the bottom 3 either. Like,
no, we're in a false position now.
We're playing football is associated with the top end of the table. We're not just packing it in defence and there's shit kicking away into victories.
Well, it's what Errol says here. So Errol's been on. He said hi. I never normally get a hi. Hi, Errol. I hope you enjoy yourselves. I think Danny has made it difficult for the fans who thought we had bad players. And I don't think we're playing bad. So we've got a new team. It actually is. It actually is. And we were sat there slagging Chisco. You lot were slagging Chisco on this show week in, week out. And I
always believed in Gasama. I always believed in him. I love that. He's played at Messi.
Yeah. So listen, John. On the back of what you were saying as well, Nat's coming with in. He said, "Who would you let go?" I'd say Gregory or Smith. One of them's not going to even be the fringe player, is it? I can't work out between them. I think they both have two different qualities. One's a bit more tenacious, one's got a bit more strength in the box, and he's also added that list as well, and Wilkes as well, who to say we took a lot of time to get him over the line seems to have been a bit of a fringe player. I mean, what do you think? I mean, is there anybody else you're looking at thinking, listen, let's try and get their wages off the off the books?
Yeah, I think those are prime candidates for sure. And if anyone's ever watched past episodes of this, that you'll see I couldn't have been any more pro Wilkes if I was his agent. So I got that one badly wrong, didn't I? So, but yeah, I think Backinson has been rumoured, hasn't he, as well, to have been attracting interest from Standard Liège in Belgium. And obviously, I think he's out of contract as well, so it'd be a nominal fee, if at all. So he could be another one that's in the quicksand. Trying to think I think those are fair assumptions. Those names that have come up there. I think Danny wants more youth in the side. He wants more players that fit his style and the high press and the energy levels and things like that. So yeah, and I mean Gregory is a hero, isn't he? From last season and the assist at Wembley and everything, but it might be time for him to move on. I think he could still do a job for somebody, maybe pushing for promotion back in League One, like dare I say it, Derby County. Oh, there we go. Look, someone's just come up with that very same rumour with Backinson. So I think those names are a fair assumption. So yeah, I think we'll definitely shift some out if we can.
Yeah, defo. Now, Blair, I want you to discuss this one because I was going to bring this to you anyway, but someone else has already said it. RJ. Might as well get Reece James off the books as well. Shame because I do rate him, but he just hasn't got a look in. I mean, what's he not doing in training? This is Reece James, man. He scored in the 5-1 Hillsborough Miracle. Have we given that a name yet? How they've got like Boxing Day Massacre.
Miracle of Hillsborough.
Is that what we've gone with? That is fucking terrible. We're going to have to... if you want to come up with a new name for it, get it in the comments, because is that what we've gone with? The Miracle at Hillsborough? The Hillsborough Miracle. That's it. That's what we've gone with.
It's not the Hillsborough Miracle, the Miracle of Hillsborough.
Fucking honestly, really? Who came up with that name? Ron Seal? Jesus wept.
Jim came up with it.
Yeah. Jim Frederici. Yeah. You see, Wickerman's got a better one there. Flynn! That's a lot better. So go on, talk about Reece James for me.
I mean, Reece James, I think he's a fabulous footballer. I can see him at Huddersfield. He's just one of Darren Moore's men, isn't he? He had him at Doncaster. He had him at our place. He'll probably have him at Huddersfield. I don't know why it's not worked out, because even when he did come back in after being dropped by Cisco, Neil Thompson put him straight back in, didn't he, for that one game where he brought all the League One players back. And he played a couple of times after that, and I thought I've never thought, oh God, he's just out of his depth. I've always enjoyed watching him. So it's just a bizarre one. Be ashamed to see him leave. He's 29. I think we are on the bringing the age of the squad down now. So if Smith, Gregory, and he leaves, that's 3. You know what I mean? People. I know he's not 30 yet, but Smith and Gregory are in the mid 30s now. So it will. It's just bringing the average age of the squad down again, which is what we're concerned about end of last season. It is.
He's not getting in. Sorry, just very quickly. He's not getting in because he's not putting the numbers in. He's not getting Danny Rule numbers in training. I'd argue that. And players that aren't getting in, and that's why Fletcher does get in over Gregory potentially.
And Firmino. Is a brilliant left back. I mean, no one saw that last season, did we? So. This
is it. So he's gonna go right. This is the way we're setting up. I've got Johnson, I've got Firmino, I've got James. Let's look at the numbers. Right. It's Moneyball, isn't it? It's that approach.
Ball. Big fan of Moneyball.
That's how we're playing it. And what can this player do that this player can't? And that's the way that we've set up. And it, you know, I've no dog in the Reece James fight. I think he's a very good player, and would I miss him if he goes? Dare I say it? Probably not, because I trust everything that Danny Rule's doing at the moment. But I can understand why there's a clamour to have him involved in the squad and involved in the team. He's not going to get rid of Smith and Gregory. He's obviously going to keep Smith. Gregory's going. I don't think that's a great secret. But the players that aren't involved at the moment, the players that aren't on the bench, and the players that aren't getting in, are players that aren't putting in the numbers that Danny Rule wants, and that's as simple as that. We've got to come away from that sentiment, and I'll say it again: the moment that Liam Palmer stops doing it, I'll get loads of grief on the internet because people go, "It's time for him to go." Fine, he goes.
Grief on the internet.
Yes.
It's a composed place, isn't it?
That's polarizing place for you, though, isn't it? Those that support them, it's like as soon as they have one little bad game, they're on them, aren't they? So that's just the nature of
the bottom line. Yeah. The bottom line is we are supporters of the club rather than players. We've got our favourite players. We've got people that we like, but at the end of the day, this manager is doing what's best for the club. So we've got to back him.
I'm just looking at my notes again there. I've just made myself laugh with Gengen style. I still don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to do it again.
You've had fun today.
I have. I've been in meme town the last 2 days. If you do get a minute, have a look through our media on the Wednesday week Twitter. Right. Listen. So I'm going to ask you guys for a prediction against Cardiff City. But I also want some from you guys at home as well. So I'm just going to buy a bit of time while you're getting them ready. We're playing at home, Cardiff City in the Cup. We've had a couple of suggestions for we had one that just said Flint, which big fan of. What is it? The Miracle at Hillsborough. Is seriously that what
the Miracle of Hillsborough?
The Miracle of Hillsborough, because it's such a magical place that it's no way bloody freezing. And Dunderbird says that we need a chant to commemorate that second leg. And Scott's gone with just the insurmountable comeback. You see that? That's got a big needless big word in it. Big fan of that. Enjoy that. Insurmountable comeback. It's never been done before. And we've gone with the Miracle.
There's a lot of syllables in there.
There's a lot of syllables. It's like a white girl ordering a coffee in California. Right then. Honestly. What happens is
that
I didn't
racist?
know that joke. I did. Is that Stevie's podcast HR?
HR.
I don't know where these jokes are coming from, and I kind of just pluck them out of the air, right? And then sometimes I say them and go like Hagrid, like I should not have said that. I should not have said that. Right then. So listen, we've got some score predictions coming in. Scott's going to go with 2-1 Wednesday. Fordy's gone with 2-0 Wednesday. Danny Allen's gone with 2-2 and then a replay at their gaff. Wickerman's gone 2-1. Get them back for the loss. Stevie, what are you saying?
I think we'll lose narrowly. I think he's gonna change a few bits up. I think he puts Fletcher in, Backinson, people like that. I think we'll lose narrowly. 2-1.
What, like 2-1 loss? Bloody hell. What about you, Blair?
I mean, I love the FA Cup, but
nobody likes the FA Cup anymore. You silly old sod. What is the matter? Nobody gives a shit anymore.
Fuck off to ESL, mate.
Yeah, but honestly, the only people who go, "Oh, it's the magic of the FA Cup," are people in their late 40s. Now, are you like an old man? Like what you call a young fogey? Is that what it is?
No, I just like the FA Cup. They call me a guy who likes the FA Cup. That's what they call me. But saying that, I hope he puts the under-21s out, gets fined, and we lose 1-0.
John Dunker's literally said that. Play the kids and we lose 2-0. Lord Hillsborough's gone with his traditional 7-0. It's been a long time since I've heard that. So what you saying there? You think it'll be a tight one, a tight loss because he's put the kids out because nobody gives a shit about the FA Cup anymore, Blair?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Apart from me.
What about you, John? Are you one of those old romantics when it comes to the FA Cup?
Not in the position that we're in, Dan. I think we've got much bigger fish to fry. I think we just go out there, put out, give some players game time that don't normally get it. I think we'll probably lose the game 1-0, and we'll be absolutely fine with that because we've got bigger fish to fry, as I said. So
yeah, I think we've got more on our plate, and I really couldn't give a toss about it. But I would like to get one over.
I hope we win. We get Man United at home, and then Fudge gets a ticket for the FA Cup 4th round. That's what I want.
Just sitting there with the mug on like this is fucking rubbish. And those that have been to football with me know that I am prone to falling asleep when there's hundreds of thousands of people in the stadium. Clearly, the magic of the FA Cup is live and well. Have you not seen the live TV choices? I'm pretty sure that the live TV choices every year are just Manchester United on the BBC. That's pretty
Liverpool.
Much what
it's Liverpool Arsenal, isn't it? The picks.
And then Ash, who's man in the socials tonight, has gone with 1-0 Wednesday Fletcher over a kick. So, jot that down. Now, I need to talk to you about a couple of things before we go. Tomorrow is the 3rd of January, and it's the longer-awaited Tat Shop sale. So we've got a few things available on the Tat Shop, on the Wednesday week Tat Shop. We've got some new designs on there. Big fan of the Roland Nilsson one. Take a look at that. If you scan the QR code on the screen now, you can you can take a look at it, and then in the morning, order your bits, because like I say, coming from Germany, and sometimes the post and packaging can be a bit expensive. So I would look, and and brace yourself here, Stevie, 24%, not 25%, not a quarter off, specifically a 24% sale. And I tell you what, with a sales pitch like that, I could sell meat out the back of a van. I was really good at that. I bet I could do that. I bet I could pull that off. Now, we've also got another score prediction here. So, yeah, scan that QR code, have a look at the chat. Liam Henderson, win 1-0 and get Spurs away in the 4th round. That is a hell of a day out. If you get to go to that ground for any reason whatsoever, Spurs is an absolute banger. And walking down Seven Sisters Road to get back is crap. It's like Brighton. You get to the stadium and go, "Oh, this is nice." And then you leave and you go, "This is fucking terrible. Did they not know that the stadium was coming and there was football on? Where's the fucking trains?" That's always a good start. And Slappy Gilmore, to wrap this up, has gone, "Oh, Ashley Fletcher, there's no one better. Give him the ball and he will score. Bambo Diaby loves the Charlie, and Masaba win the Ballon d'Or. Oi, oi." Does anybody have any other business?
Just we need to sing that on the cop every day of this rest of his lives.
Now, I don't normally mind this, right? So sometimes if I put a meme out and somebody steals it, I don't mind, right? And if we put a gag out there and somebody steals it, I like it, right? It's all right. But I am claiming, Blair, because you were there when I said it. I was there when I said it. I am claiming up the shagging Wednesdays. That was me when I was pissed up at the Miracle of Hillsborough, or the insurmountable comeback, or whatever whoever decided we're gonna call it. I want some more comments. Make sure you subscribe and all that shit. Ladies and gentlemen,
did you get any views on that cameo?
What? What on Big John saying Labosh? There might be
shagging Wendy.
If you join us on TikTok, you could be one of the 30,000 people.
Exactly.
Viewed Big John saying
Lord
Hills
was just pointed out, but we've had no up the shagging Wendy shirt. What's happening there, Fud?
It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. The first thing that I said is get that logo needs to be on a shirt.
Honestly, absolutely disgusting. So listen, thanks a lot for joining us tonight, ladies and gents. It's been an absolute pleasure. We've done an hour and 8 minutes. I didn't think we were going to get through in one game. I'm recorded tomorrow. Don't forget to join us for Hello from the Other Side. That will go out recorded tomorrow evening. In the meantime, see you later.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
What a goal! absolutely world class from Marcus Tunde.
Johnson puts it in the air. Aidan Flynn wins the It's still with Lee Gregory. He's in the box. Tries to screw it. Is it going to be there? Yes! Oh my word!
The Wednesday week! If you go onto Twitter and click our link tree in our bio, you can do it there.